Hello and welcome to the Actual Tech Media EcoCast. My name is Jess and I am excited to be here with you all today. But before we jump into our content, I have some basic information that I want to cover with you. All right, let's kick off our day here today by taking a quick tour of your audience console. And we're going to start with the questions window. So if you haven't already said hi, there is a whole audience of cool humans out there, so reach out and give a wave to the other members of the Actual Tech Media community. Now, keep in mind that if you do have any technical issues today, a browser refresh is going to fix just about anything. But if those tech gremlins are clinging on today, no problem. Just throw a comment in the question section and our crew will be there to help. We also want this to be an informative webinar for you, so throughout today's EcoCast, we hope you'll get engaged and ask all your burning questions. Not only will we have team members responding to you over a live chat, we will also have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of our presentations. Now, if we don't get to your question during the live webinar today, don't worry, because the awesome experts that we have here with us will be following up after we wrap. All right, next up, there's going to be lots of cool aha moments on the EcoCast today. And if you want to share those with your community, we've made it nice and easy for you. You can use the Twitter button right there on your audience console, and the hashtag for today's EcoCast will be automatically added to your post. All right, our last stop on this guided tour, be sure to check out the handouts tab for some awesome resources and takeaways from our speakers here today. We have an info pack collection, solution briefs, white papers, data sheets, free trials, ebooks, upcoming webinars, and more. So many great resources, so be sure to go explore. Now, if that wasn't enough fun, we also have some exciting prizes that we'll be giving away throughout today's EcoCast. I'm going to tell you a bit more about those later on, but a few quick reminders for you all. First, you do need to be here live in attendance at the EcoCast in order to qualify to win a prize, and we will follow up with all of you after we wrap. Now, all winners must submit an IRS Form W-9 to Actual Tech Media, and all winners must meet the Actual Tech Media prize terms and conditions. Now, if you don't know what those full T's and C's are, that's fine. We've got the full thing for you. Just head on over to that handouts tab, click in, scroll down to the bottom, and you'll find them waiting for you there. Now, the absolute most important thing to remember is that we love getting all your insightful questions during these live webinars. In fact, we love it so much that we actually have a special additional prize for all you inquisitive folks out there. So in today's EcoCast, we will be giving away a prize for the best question asked in each of our live sessions. Now, the expert speakers and teams will review all questions asked after we wrap the webinar, which means that even if your question does not get read out in a live session, there is still a chance to win. If you are a lucky winner here today and you would like to donate the value of your prize, we have several wonderful organizations that we partner with. So let us know when we follow up about your big win, and we'll get that rolling for you. Again, we are so happy to have you all here with us live at the EcoCast today, and we want to keep that good feeling going, so let's connect on social media. Reach out and connect with Actual Tech Media on Twitter and on LinkedIn. We have lots of great content, and we always want to hear from you. Now, if you're looking for more awesome content and resources right after we wrap the EcoCast today, be sure to subscribe to the Actual Tech Media channel on YouTube. Another fun way to win a prize and, hey, grow this awesome community is to refer an industry friend or a coworker to the Actual Tech Media webinar series. Now, you'll find a link to do that right in your handouts tab, and you will also be automatically redirected at the end of the webinar. And both you and your coworker or friend could win a prize, and we hold those drawings every month. So be sure to refer a friend because, it could quite literally be a win-win situation. Next, we have a cool opportunity for all the decision makers out there to get connected with new and emerging tech and innovative vendors. Here's how it works. All you need to do is click on the link in your handouts tab, fill out a quick application, and the Actual Tech crew will then match you with some vendors that we think you should probably be chatting with based on your needs. There will also be fun opportunities that you get to choose to join in, like surveys, test runs, new solutions, extended demos, and so on. You'll get some chances to win extra prizes, you'll chat with great people, and you'll learn about the hottest new trends in tech. So be sure to apply, or hey, send that link to a decision maker on your team. Now, I want to take a quick minute here to remind you all about one of my favorite resources, and that is ransomware.org. You can find out everything you need to know about ransomware, how to prepare, prevent, and recover. This site is jam-packed with information, helpful tips, checklists, strategic approaches, case studies, everything you need in one place. So wherever you are in your ransomware preparedness journey, there is something for you at ransomware.org. Go check it out and start exploring. All right, I have one more exciting resource I have to tell you about today, and that is the Gorilla Guide Book Club. It's going to give you access to free enterprise IT books authored by top industry experts, so you can stay up to date on trending enterprise technology. And yes, these books will work on your Kindle, your mobile device, and as I said, they are completely free. You can download these awesome resources at gorilla.guide, and there's a link for you in that handouts tab as well. All right, well, we have covered a lot of important things already, and I don't know about you all, but I am excited to dive in. So let's get going.
All righty. Hello and welcome, folks, to today's EcoCast, supporting, extending, and protecting virtualized and containerized environments. This is going to be such an awesome day. Virtualization and containerization definitely allow us to be agile and scalable, but adopting virtualization or containerization, being more and more powerful, can also be a tweakable and wow, my brain just went flat. While adopting virtualization or containerization, it's almost always more powerful than not, is what I want to say. But every environment can be tuned, tweaked, and tailored to be a little more agile and more scalable. Likely, that is why you're here today, to boost your organization's system and how you've set things up. And I'm sure you are all ready to get started here with our keynote and learn all about the way to boost up your environments. So with that, my name is Mackenzie Puddesy. I'm a moderator here at Actual Tech Media. If you have not had me as your host or moderator for an EcoCast or MegaCast or other webinar in the past, pleased to meet you. I've got my other friends here in the wings, Jess Steinbach, Scott Becker, and Keith Ward on live chat to help me out. And with that, I've got a little bit more information for you, and then we'll get things kicked off. We do have some incredible prizes coming your way today. There are three $300 Amazon gift cards up for grabs. You do need to be here, present, and live with us at the EcoCast to win. And as mentioned in the housekeeping chat this morning, you can find the full T's and C's linked in the handouts tab if you have any questions about that. Not only that, but we do have a $50 best question gift card for each session. So I do encourage you to be interactive, ask questions, and otherwise bring some good energy to today's event. So if you haven't already, why don't you hop over into the questions tab of your console, say a quick hello, get things kicked off, and then as I do have our first speaker coming out in about 10 minutes after the keynote, please do ask tons of questions, be interactive, and make sure you get all the information you're looking for from today's EcoCast. And with that, I believe we are indeed ready to rock. Our keynote speaker today is Trevor Pott. Trevor Pott is a solutions architect, and he'll be setting the stage for today's discussion. Trevor, you have a great presentation planned, so I'm just going to kick things over to you. Take it away.
Thank you very much. My name is Trevor Pott, and I am here to talk to you about virtualized and containerized environments, and more specifically, what is it going to mean for those of us who have to actually operate this infrastructure for the latter half of the 2020s? So perhaps the most important question is, who am I? Who am I to be giving a keynote, and why am I here taking up your time? Well, the answer to that is actually, I'm nobody special. I was a sysadmin for a little over a decade. Did some technology journalism, some marketing. Now I work for a vendor. I don't think that there's anything that I can tell you or even should tell you that you don't already know. And honestly, that's kind of the whole point. We've reached a point, I think, with regards to virtualization and containerization infrastructure and sort of the surrounding ecosystems when you look at storage, backup, that mean that there isn't as much for us to learn. There isn't as much for us to know. And perhaps the single most important thing to take away from anything I could offer as advice or knowledge or insight is just that you the practitioners are, in fact, now the experts in your field. All of you. One of the most important things that we all have to take into account is the security of the underlying infrastructure is now a target. Perhaps the biggest reason for this is that it's simply getting harder for ransomware gangs to make money in ransomware the old-fashioned way. They are changing tactics, as happens periodically within the cybercrime world. As much as I hate to use the word cyber for anything, we've seen a distinct change in behavior from various threat actors all around the world. They are targeting fundamental underlying infrastructure more and more. And as they do so, and as they have significant success, we are seeing that this is being noticed by smaller threat actors. They are catching on, that there is sort of a soft underbelly to most organizations. And that increasingly is the underlying infrastructure, such as virtualization, containerization, storage, backups, especially backups. And this is all coming at the same time that the next big hype cycle, which is AI, is potentially going to impact us in the underlying infrastructure world more directly. AI is infiltrating our management applications, in some cases providing us useful tools such as AI ops based management. In some cases, it's more into ingesting our logs or ingesting various elements of our documentation, sometimes even our chats. AI is everywhere, and it's going to be everywhere else. So we increasingly have to worry not just about what keeps our infrastructure up or what keeps people out of our infrastructure if we don't want them to be, but we need to pay attention to what are the management tools that we use actually doing with our infrastructure. What data are they collecting? What are they doing with that data? Who is that data being sold to? This is as true for the cloud-based management applications as it is for AI being built into our management applications. Where is our telemetry going, and what is it being used for? This was mostly an idle concern about what vendors might do with that information in the future, and we are now living through the getting to see what they're doing with that information. And we have to make rational judgments about how this impacts us and our various positions with regards to regulatory compliance, risk, etc. And that is affecting us as infrastructure managers as much as it is any security team. And all of this comes at a time when the actual infrastructure that we're using is, for the most part, mature. Virtualization, containerization, while there is, of course, innovation occurring in these areas, the big rocks have been moved. We have moved largely out of the venture capital driven hype cycle portion of this and are moving into the now everything actually has to work, and it has to work reliably, and it has to work at scale, and it has to work forever. And above all, it has to integrate into all of the other business processes that we have. This has some impacts for how vendors are approaching this space. We are seeing a lot less differentiation from vendors based on features, because most of the features that they have left to add are addressing smaller and smaller groups of users. The features that fit that 80-20 rule have largely been developed, redeveloped, engineered, reimagined, and we're on generation 5 or 6 of them, and there's not a lot to go there. Unfortunately, as we have begun to see, because this market is maturing, we have many vendors that are trying to move away from winning their customers over with fantastic new features or great pricing or super cool integrated services, and are moving more into an extraction mode where they know that they own a significant chunk of the infrastructure you need for your businesses to work day to day, and they're going to rent seek just as hard as they can. This brings me to my final set of points, which is it's customer time. So you move into a post-hype era in any market in tech. Vendors do actually have to work to earn your business. It may not seem like that right now today, as we are just for many of these technologies moving more directly into these technologies being considered mature. But it does mean that it's easier for open source based technologies to essentially clone some of the stuff that was traditionally closed source. It means that we have, as an industry, investigated most of the different ways of doing a thing and come up with the handful of ways of doing it that's efficient and reasonably possible. And so now we have entered the era where vendors that care about ease of use, that care about customer satisfaction, those vendors can now very realistically start making inroads and pulling market share away from the vendors who have been the 800-pound gorillas for the past decade and a half, 2 decades. And if I had one concluding thought to leave you with as you go forth to enjoy this conference, it is, don't let the vendors forget it. Their time of being in the spotlight and dominating this space and deciding what is and isn't going to happen is over. Now, we, the people who have to actually manage the infrastructure, get to determine what the future of these technologies is going to look like. The venture capitalists are gone elsewhere. All of the hype is elsewhere. The spotlight and the focus is on the new shiny. And now we have to look at what is it that is going to make our lives actually easier, and the technologies we have to use every day simpler. Don't let the vendors forget it, and have a great conference.
Thank you so much, Trevor. That was fantastic. And I do love that idea that, yes, if we're the ones using, or the users, out there in the audience are using these things every day and want new features and want the ability to kind of control those roadmaps, that is fantastic. So as for all of you out in the audience, hopefully you enjoyed that. I've got a little test to make sure you are alive, awake, and ready to hear from our presenters today, which is why I have a poll for you to answer before I introduce our first presenter. So you'll see that there. Essentially, we're just asking, what is your time frame for adding new or updating your existing IT solutions at your company? Could be right away. You're looking to make some moves. Could be in 6 to 12 months, maybe a couple of years out, and maybe you're just not sure. You're getting a lay of the land, seeing what some of the options are in terms of new tech and ways to manage your environment. So do take a second to answer that poll. And with that, I am going to bring out our first presenter here today. We have got just 2 fantastic teams presenting. It is going to fly by, but it will be jam-packed with valuable information as always. Am I right? Shout out in the comments if you agree. And again, a little reminder that there is a best question prize. So please do be interactive and throw your questions and some thoughtful ideas into the chat. Now, without further ado, the Progress team is here to get the good times rolling. Please welcome from Progress, Kurt Jung. He is the Principal Solutions Engineer at Progress. Kurt, are you ready?
I'm ready to go.
Okay, excellent. Well, with that, I'm going to let you take it away, Kurt.
Okay, great. Hey, everyone. Well, it's great to be back. I was here a few months ago talking about using Loadmaster as it pertains to APIs and cloud apps. So excited to be here today talking about Kubernetes. Again, I'm Kurt Young, Principal Solutions Engineer at Progress, and I lead our technical product marketing team. Let's just skip over this one and get right into the agenda. So for the agenda, I always like to do a quick overview of Progress software for those who may not be as familiar with what Progress does. Then we're going to talk about how we support Kubernetes with Loadmaster from a deployment standpoint and the different ways that we do that. Then we're going to look into the capabilities we provide on Loadmaster to help protect your published Kubernetes apps, right? As part of this, I'm going to briefly talk about another product as it relates to Loadmaster, and that's Loadmaster 360 and how that plays into that conversation. So what does Progress do? So our vision is to propel business forward, right, in a technology-driven world, right, and to be that trusted provider. And we do that with this extensive portfolio, right? And I'm not going to go into all of these products here, but our portfolio is continuing to grow, right, over many acquisitions. Kemp, as an example, was acquired back in 2021, which is how I became part of Progress. But lots of different solutions, and we're constantly innovating across all of our products, right? And I'll be highlighting a bit of that innovation today as it pertains to Loadmaster and some existing and new features that are coming out on Loadmaster 360 in just a couple of months. So for those who are new to Loadmaster, right, we're a load balancer, right, at our core, but we're really providing so much more than that from an application delivery controller perspective, right? Delivering availability and scalability to those published applications, but also optimization and security. And we offer this across several platforms, right? Loadmaster can be deployed as a hardware appliance, right? Many versions of the hardware appliance, virtual appliance, or in the cloud. But before we get into the security aspects of Loadmaster, I want to take a couple slides, to talk about the ingress capabilities on Loadmaster and how we've implemented this functionality. We're doing some unique things here, and I think it's going to be helpful to highlight how we're positioning Loadmaster with Kubernetes in the integration that we're delivering. So when it comes to Kubernetes, talking to existing customers and conversations with industry analysts, it was clear there was a challenge for some organizations with the adoption of microservices Kubernetes. And that there was this assumption that these cross-functional DevOps structure was present, right? Meanwhile, many organizations operate in these kind of specialized functional teams or silos. As we can see on the left side here, right, you have the network, the application development, right, infrastructure teams. So what we've done is we designed Loadmaster ingress capabilities to support both, right? So if you've adopted that true DevOps team role in your organization, or have these or some subset, right, of these specialized functional teams, we have some different modes within our capabilities to help you adopt this microservices architecture. So these two modes that we have, right? Ingress mode and service mode. Now, both are going to function in the same way when it comes to the dynamic nature of Kubernetes, right? With its ability to scale out environments and scale back when those resources or pods, right, when they're no longer required. But ingress mode is geared towards your true DevOps team, right? Using the standard Kubernetes ingress API. Whereas service mode is a constrained API used for those functional teams, right? And without getting into too much detail of what this means, if you had a network team, right, provisioning a load master, this could be virtual, cloud, or even hardware, creating a configuration to publish the Kubernetes application over what we call a virtual service, right? And this is going to include the IP address that clients connect to, a certificate to encrypt the traffic, and maybe enabling some security features that we're going to discuss in just a little bit. With that, they can send the team that's building out the deployments and services within Kubernetes an entry that they can add to the services to make that connection between Loadmaster and Kubernetes. So whenever changes happen, right, within that Kubernetes service, the Loadmaster configuration is going to get dynamically updated, right, automatically. So, right, as you can see, first off, right, we're not containerized, right? The Loadmaster lives outside of the cluster, and we can direct traffic to pods running on those worker nodes, right? So we're just doing north-south traffic here. And since we're not containerized, you're going to get all the functionality that you would get when publishing any application with Loadmaster, right? It's the same appliance. It's just enabling the Kubernetes ingress capabilities on it. But if you want to dig more into ingress mode and service mode and how they work and how you implement them and things like that, we have plenty of content. We actually created some new updated videos. If you just go to the Progress Camp YouTube channel, you look for the latest videos, you'll see them. They're just recently released. So certainly recommend you check those out. So with that, right, we could talk about why the load balancer, why to use the load balancer, right, to enhance your Kubernetes security posture. Now, if you've attended any of my Loadmaster webinars before, you've seen a version of this slide, right? I use it often since it really simplifies or highlights the privileged position in which the load balancer sits on the network, right? Today, most application traffic is of course encrypted, whether that application is hosted external or internal. But with the Loadmaster position between the users and, in this case, the Kubernetes application, it allows the load balancer to have visibility of that traffic that's accessing the application. And the Loadmaster, of course, is optimized to decrypt that traffic, look into it to see exactly what's being requested. And with that ability, the Loadmaster can take certain actions on it. And so we'll look into some of these capabilities on Loadmaster and a few use cases on how the Loadmaster can help you secure these Kubernetes published apps. So the Loadmaster web application firewall is always where I would start. The Loadmaster WAF can certainly help protect these Kubernetes published applications against common web exploits and application vulnerabilities. This is based on the OWASP top 10 in the core rule set. OWASP top 10 and core rule set are obviously the most common vulnerabilities and are updated based on the greatest current risk. You have things like injection attacks or server-side request forgery as an example. Loadmaster also allows for the ability to create customized WAF rules for specific use cases. We have some thresholds that could be set on the WAF, such as an anomaly scoring threshold or paranoia settings. And what this is going to help you do is to adjust the WAF to avoid false positives, right? So we're allowing those legitimate connections access to that application that we're publishing. So as I mentioned earlier about Loadmaster 360, and I wish I could cover more than I'm going to cover in this session. There's just so much to talk about. I did a webinar, I think, last month on Loadmaster 360, so you could always find that and give a watch on that, or look at the visit the Progress and Kemp site to get more information. But Loadmaster 360 is a new SaaS offering from Progress. It was released in October of last year. And I really couldn't talk about Loadmaster WAF without mentioning the new capabilities that are going to be added to Loadmaster 360 in the next few months here. So Loadmaster 360 adds another layer of observability as to what's happening with your application delivery in general, right? This slide is a sneak peek of a new functionality that gives the organizations the ability to get deeper insights into the events being triggered by the Loadmaster WAF, and providing guidance to further fine-tune the rules to limit false positives. So we have widgets showing events by location globally. We have the top 10 rules that have been triggered, top 10 blocked IP addresses, top 10 blocked URI requests. Lots of great insight, right, of what's really happening on the web application firewall itself. Again, if you haven't looked at Loadmaster 360, lots of great stuff. I certainly recommend you visit, theprogress.com or chemtechnologies.com to get some more insights on what we're doing there with Loadmaster 360. IP reputation functionality, right? This is to block connections altogether to the Kubernetes environments that you're publishing. So if you have Kubernetes publishing externally, there's an updated list of known threat actor IP addresses that's provided, and updates can be scheduled to ensure that the latest list is available on Loadmaster. You can go in, you can block IP addresses manually at a subnet level or down to a specific IP address. You can even block an entire country, right, to prevent any connections that originate from that location. Now, I always like to step back a second and point out, right, with this approach, there's of course ways around this, right? These bad actors, could change the source IP address in which they're coming from, right? Masking it in some way using VPN or some other way to disguise the source IP address. But it's really about, the layering of security to help protect these applications that are being published. I always say there's really no one silver bullet that's going to help protect the application from anything that can come after it, right? So the more layers that we implement, the better that we're going to be at keeping those applications secure. Now, rate limiting is another approach, right? So this isn't going to completely block the connections, but it's going to help protect the application, but also help with performance. So having the ability to restrict access to the application by doing rate limiting, implementing this concept of fair and balanced access to the backend systems, or in this case, Kubernetes pods, right? By limiting the amount of traffic or connections to them. And there's different ways we can do this, right? You can see we have options for connections or requests per second. You can limit the amount of bandwidth from an IP address or a subnet. So this kind of functionality can also help with denial of service attacks, right? By only allowing a set number of connections from a specific IP address, just as an example. So pre-authentication. So pre-authentication capabilities, or what we call Edge Security Pack or ESP, could be leveraged depending on the application being published, right, to further protect it. This would, of course, have to require that application, we can do authentication to that application. But setting up the Loadmaster to interact with identity providers to authenticate access to the Kubernetes applications, right, prior to sending that traffic to them, we can do that on the load balancer itself. Now, there's several ways to leverage this using protocols. We have, connect to LDAP or Radius or SAML, or even doing certificate authentication could be some examples that you can use to authenticate users. And obviously, with all the users and customers that are actually using Azure, Loadmaster has integration with Azure Entra ID, right? That really simplifies that integration. And I every time I say Entra ID, I can't get used to that name, and I still want to call it Azure AD. But if you're running Kubernetes across multiple clouds and on premises, you can point all authentication back to that single identity provider, such as Entra ID. You can also have the ability to add things like multi-factor authentication to further secure and verify those users that are accessing the application, again, prior to sending them back to that application to connect. So encryption of traffic using TLS certificates. So Loadmaster has the ability to specify a set of ciphers used when encrypting traffic to ensure that the algorithms used are secure. So giving the ability to use perhaps a set of the pre-canned Loadmaster cipher sets, right, such as best practices, or you can customize your own, right, to ensure that the application that's being published is using the latest, most secure ciphers to protect that application, that Kubernetes application. Loadmaster also has capabilities to leverage ACME certificates from certificate providers like Let's Encrypt or DigiCert, which allow for the automation of renewing certificates right from within the Loadmaster. Now, if you are using, one of like the standard 1-year certificates from other certificate authorities, that's great. You can still import them on a Loadmaster and use them. Again, but if you're using Let's Encrypt, which is valid for, let's call it 90 days, having that automated renewal process on the Loadmaster is really going to be key, right? So whether you're using ACME or standard TLS, having these certificates applied to the load balancer allows for that traffic to be decrypted, so we can take those necessary actions like applying WAF rules or pre-authentication, and things like that. Right? If you need to, we can always re-encrypt that traffic if you need that end-to-end encryption, or we can send that traffic back to the Kubernetes pods unencrypted, right? Assuming that there's a secure network that traffic is going across to offload that processing on the Kubernetes environment. So we'll give another shout out to Loadmaster 360, right, and talk about the dashboards to show what's going on from a pre-authentication and certificate standpoint. Now, all of this is in the product today. It's highlighting things like successful and failed authentication attempts. We use things like heat maps and drill down capabilities to get more detail on when these attempts took place, right? And being able to see a list of blocked users that have that gave too many wrong passwords and are now blocked from the application, and it really so much more around the edge security pack perspective. From a certificates insights standpoint, getting visibility into the expiration of certificates is really a huge value, right, with Loadmaster 360. So you can be proactive to renew them, right? Getting warnings they have certs expiring in 60 days and then 30 days, right? So you don't get into the situation where you have an outage due to an expired certificate. So again, I can't state enough. If you haven't took a look at Loadmaster 360 and what it provides, there's just a whole lot to it, and definitely check it out.
All righty.
Yeah. So yeah, just that's about wrap it up. And just to point out one more thing before we get into Q&A, though, is anyone that's interested in kind of kicking the tires with Loadmaster 360, I do want to point out that we do have 30-day trials that you can download and deploy in your own virtual environment, or if you wanted to spin up a trial in cloud, AWS or Azure, if you're running AKS or EKS, you can also spin up a 30-day trial in the cloud as well if you wanted to go ahead and experience the product and kick the tires a bit.
Amazing. And if people want to do that, what's the best way to kind of reach out to you?
Well, you don't even have to reach out to us. You can just go right to the marketplace in the public cloud and just deploy a 30-day trial, or you can visit kemptechnologies.com to just download a trial for yourself and deploy it. I mean, the product itself, from a ease of use standpoint, it's experience it. Let's just say that it's a very intuitive load balancer, and with all of the information that we provide through documentation, videos, you'll certainly be able to understand it and get it up and running without any assistance. It's that easy.
Fantastic. Before we launch into Q&A, I'm just going to throw up a poll. So anyone out there in the audience, we'd love to get your feedback on any additional resources that you would like to explore from Progress. So your feedback is definitely valuable, but really this is your wish list, your easy button. If you want white papers, pricing details, a demo, you want to go out and try it for yourself, just plunk that response in there. And with that, we actually have a ton of questions. So Kurt, are you ready to field a few of these?
Let's do it.
Okay, perfect. So first one I have here is the WAF included on all Loadmaster models?
So it is. The Loadmaster, the WAF is included. Now, how we provide access to the WAF capabilities is through our subscription tiers. So we have a standard, Enterprise, and Enterprise Plus. If you wanted to leverage WAF, you'd have to go with the Enterprise Plus, which includes a whole ton of other features as well. But WAF is available on Enterprise Plus. But hardware, cloud, virtual, it's available across all the platforms. It's just tied to that subscription tier.
Okay, nice. And there's another question about WAF. It says, can I pick and choose different WAF rules that are applied to traffic?
Yes, you can. And you can actually, to even maybe further extend that question, you could have multiple applications published on a single Loadmaster, and the WAF configuration is tied to each of those. So you can actually have different selection of rules on different applications on the same load balancer as well. So it's not like one load balancer, one application kind of thing. You can actually have obviously multiple applications published through one, and you have the ability to have a set of rules per application that you can apply. So a lot of flexibility.
Okay, nice. Again, I'm just going to fire these off because there's a lot. So next one I have is, how is Loadmaster 360 licensed?
Yeah, great. Again, we covered a lot of this in the webinar. We talk about this. So Loadmaster 360, it's a SaaS solution, right? So it's not something you would just get a perpetual license for. How we're licensing that is per asset, which is, you could be a load balancer is an asset, an application that you're publishing is an asset, and you can actually just buy the amount of assets that you need for your environment, right? Right. I think there's a starter kit that we have of 10 assets that you can start with, and then you can add additional assets as you grow.
Okay, nice. So definitely scalable, customizable.
Yep. Oh yeah.
I've got one more cost-related question, and then we'll move into more, theoretical or intellectual things. This one is the ingress functionality an additional cost on Loadmaster?
It's not. It's not. You just that's available on also all the we were talking about before about the tiers, a WAF. So whether you're standard, Enterprise, or Enterprise Plus, you will have the ability to enable Kubernetes. You just wouldn't have the ability to enable some of the other things like the WAF, as we discussed with Enterprise Plus, or even like the pre-authentication capabilities that's included in Enterprise. So, but the Kubernetes itself, yeah, you can definitely do that.
Okay, nice. This question is from Adam. Adam's wondering, what are some common pitfalls or mistakes organizations make when managing virtualized and containerized environments, and how does Progress help mitigate these challenges or mistakes?
Well,
it's a bit of a wide question.
That's a pretty open question. Yeah. I think, from our standpoint, right, I think getting, just setting up the environment in this case, a load balancer, whether you're talking about containerized, virtualized, APIs, cloud, whatever it may be, right? Just kind of, number one, there's obviously some best practices when it comes to publishing each of those. And we actually provide many applications that we support provide a template, what we call an application template. These application templates can be used, uploaded to the Loadmaster, and used to deploy these applications, set up the configuration using best practices for that particular application. We're constantly adding more and more supported applications. So I think from just having the wrong configuration, right, which could provide a poor experience for those users that are accessing the application would be, certainly some areas where customers may kind of run into some issues. And on top of that, now with Loadmaster 360, we're able to give that visibility to really understand how the application's behaving, and obviously the availability of the application as well. So there's a lot of things that we're providing to really help customers to not get into those situations where they're not using the best practices to deploy certain applications. So a lot of things there. Again, it's a bit open and probably get into a lot more detail, but I want to make sure we have enough time for other questions as well.
Perfect. This is pretty specific, but this specific audience member wondering if there's kind of an iPad or a phone app because they want to deploy this in their warehouse. I'm not sure if there's a version.
Well, I mean, you could certainly manage the load balancer from any of those devices, right? We have obviously a web user interface, so you can manage it through that. But of course, the load balancer itself is going to run really in those three environments, whether it's in the cloud, Azure, AWS, virtual environments, and we support all major virtual environments, and then hardware. So again, it wouldn't be something that you would install the application on some of those devices, but you can certainly manage the load balancer from those devices.
Okay, excellent. And I think we have time for just one final question. If someone does want to kind of take those first steps with you, or if you want to leave the audience with some specific kind of call to action or key thoughts around this solution, what would it be? This is your kind of mic drop moment here.
Well, yeah, I think the way that we're doing the integration and working with Kubernetes, I think it's a very interesting approach. And I think with that approach, there's a lot of interesting use cases. And again, we're still building out all of this. I mean, we've had this functionality for a while, but we're building out some new material and content around these different use cases. As an example, as part of I was talking about those videos up in the Kemp Progress Kemp YouTube channel. We have one that's a monolithic to microservices migration approach, right? Since we're living outside of the cluster, we can publish applications that are in the data center, right? Monolithic applications. Also, since we have the Kubernetes capabilities, we can publish applications that are running in a microservices architecture at the same time on the same device. And doing those kind of migrations, having them coexist, we can actually have, for those who aren't taking a full cutover, right, from migrating from monolithic application to a microservices application, they can take a kind of a staged or phased approach to do that. And we've actually have some content around how they can do that and how that works. So I think with the way that we're implementing the integration with Kubernetes, there's just a lot of opportunity to cover a lot of unique use cases in your environments, and something that and there's maybe many others that we haven't thought of yet. So we'd be certainly interested to have those conversations with potential customers or existing customers to see how we can make that happen and how we can make that work to add more value to your applications and your business.
Amazing. Thank you. Great answer, Kurt. I love that. Well, with that, I am going to let you go, but thank you so much for being here.
Great to be here. I really appreciate it.
A pleasure. Well, hope to see you again soon.
Yeah, thanks.
Cheers. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for your questions. We definitely didn't have time to get to all of them, but don't you worry. Kurt and the team at Progress will definitely reach out and make sure they follow up with any questions that weren't answered if they need a little bit more fleshing out and information. Beyond that, there is the handouts tab. So if you haven't poked around in there quite yet, definitely check out the handouts section. You have a PDF there, which is a overview of the Kemp Loadmaster solution. So delivering highly available, highly secure applications, just 2 pages. So super easy. And in there, you've got a link right to that 30-day trial of the software. So if you want to go grab that, I highly suggest doing that now. And with that, it is time to give away one of our $300 Amazon gift cards today. So quick reminder, you do need to be present live and here with us, lucky at the webinar to win. And with that, I'm going to give this away. Drum roll on your desk if you're at your desk today. The first $300 gift card goes out to Tauna Chestnut from Idaho. Super huge congratulations to you, Tauna, and thanks so much for being here. We will reach out after the EcoCast to let you know how you can redeem your prize as well. Now, next up in today's roster of experts is Rubrik. Our friends at Rubrik are back in action here. We're so excited to have them lending their knowledge on this EcoCast. And we have not one, but two speakers. So we've got Kim Lambert in the house, the principal product evangelist. And with her, we've got Joe Harlan, orchestrated application recovery technical lead at Rubrik. Kim, Joe, I'm looking forward to hearing from both of you on this topic. And Kim, I'm going to pass this over to you.
Thanks so much. Yes. Hi there. I'm Kim Lambert. Happy to be here with you all. So at Rubrik, I am really focused on the ability we have as a data security company to ensure the recoverability of your data as a critical component of your overall IT security strategy. And as part of that, I am the principal product marketing lead for our orchestrated application recovery solution. And I worked with the team who built the solution prior to it being even available to our customers. And now, as it continues to advance and be adopted at an increasing rate, it makes sense to also have somebody else that you'll be hearing from. So you're not only listening to me, you'll also be hearing from our technical go-to-market lead, Joe Harlan. And Joe has over 20 years of experience operating and designing large-scale data center infrastructure environments. And Joe really puts his technical acumen to use, educating folks like you on addressing and overcoming the challenges of modern disaster recovery planning and execution. So what are you going to learn from us today? Well, first of all, we want to teach you how to simplify vSphere recovery from cyber attacks, from application outages, natural disasters. And we want you to know how you can get your business back online as quickly as possible and how to do that as simply as you possibly can. And then, as I mentioned, we've got Joe. Joe's going to show you the latest advancements we're working on in orchestration for disaster recovery, which are designed to enable you to do even more planning before an event actually happens, so during peacetime, as they say, so that you're ready to work for wartime and get your business back online faster. So you will see a great demo from Joe during this as well. All right, let's get into it. First and foremost, as our team brings new solutions to the market, we don't want to do it in a bubble. We don't want to do it in a vacuum. We want to make sure that we thoroughly understand where there's opportunity for improvement for you and where we can bring more value. So throughout the development, throughout the beta phase of orchestrated application recovery, we did over 100 customer interviews trying to really thoroughly understand where we can address soft spots in the market so that we can bring you that more value in terms of not only disaster recovery, but in terms of recovery from what's top of mind right now, cyber attacks. So these are really the key three focus areas that we came to understand were important and what we needed to tackle. So first, consolidation. Do more with your backup. Typically, when you do put an automated recovery solution in place, it's a point solution. So it requires you to store the data twice, to have a separate set of replication, a separate set of VMs or appliances to support that solution. So do more with your backup. We wanted to say, let's make it not just a backup, let's make it business continuity. Let's make it orchestrated protection from cyber attacks. Secondly, operational ease. Let's tear down silos. Let's say instead of having to get your FTEs trained and certified on different point solutions throughout the ecosystem, which can really introduce more cost opportunity for human error and just operational overhead, hey, let's consolidate. Let's bring in operational management for backup, cyber recovery, orchestrated recovery, and so on into one single pane of glass. And that's really the driver overall in terms of our design philosophy. And then lastly, and I think most importantly, is you need to be able to prove your readiness to the business. You need to be able to prove at any point in time that your business is in a position to recover from a cyber attack or a natural disaster or just an outage. It's really important for you, as you know, to be able to prove to your leadership and your organization that you are disaster ready. You are recovery ready. Okay, so now that I've talked to you a little bit about the tenets which orchestrated application and recovery was designed, let's talk about the implementation, why it's really going to be your advantage for recovery from a ransomware attack. So like any good solution, it's built on a strong foundation. In this case, orchestrated recovery is part of our SaaS-based data security platform for immutable append-only backup and recovery, and it supports a zero trust architecture in terms of access. And that platform is Rubrik Security Cloud. Now, with Rubrik Security Cloud, we can actually look at all of your data. We can aggregate all of it. We can give you the data insights as well from your metadata. And this metadata is what powers several applications we've built for this platform. Now, Rubrik solutions keep your data safe, easy to recover in the face of cyber attacks and operational failures. So you can recover the data you need however and whenever you need it to keep your business running. And the solution is organized into 3 key pillars that are mapped to the United States NIST standard. So you've got data resilience. You want to be able to safeguard your data with secure backups so that it can't be deleted, it can't be compromised or encrypted, and it's always going to be available for you to recover. You got here data observability. So you want to be able to identify when, where, how attacks have impacted systems by continuously being able to scan data over time so compromises can be remediated quickly. And then over here on the far right, this is all data recovery. So you want to be able to quarantine malware. You want to be able to actually avoid reinfection in that recovery process. So recover data quickly with guided file level, object level, application level, system-wide operations so business operations can be restored really quickly. So that's a bit of that. Now, the next step is how do we layer in these solutions? And so let me dive into these 3 little pillars here. How do we layer in these solutions, these kind of capabilities, while keeping as minimal an on-prem footprint as we possibly can? Well, that's where our SaaS platform comes into play, delivering SaaS-based applications to increase the value of backups that you take with Rubrik. And I'll highlight several of these here today. One of the applications that you see here is ransomware monitoring and investigation. And this capability is is able to learn your data set over time. It can warn you if we see anomalous behavior, and it's a tool that's great for triaging what has been attacked in the event that you get hit by ransomware. Secondly here, let's focus on data governance or data classification. So understanding, is my sensitive data where I intended it to be? I'm analyzing my data risk, helping to comply with data privacy regulations. But what's more, also being able to quickly understand what data potentially was exfiltrated as the consequence of our cyber attack. Then there's threat hunting. So being able to scan your backups and identify IOCs, indicators of compromise, as part of threat hunting within your ecosystem to see if malware is present based on rules provided to you by your incident management partner. And within this same suite of products in an enterprise solution that we provide to customers is where you'll also find orchestrated application recovery here. So this is part of the solution stack that wants to be round off the back end of an attack by being able to bring your business back online. So if you get hit, now you may be thinking, well, I have orchestrated application recovery today. Why is this different? And it's really in the design. The orchestrated application recovery engine lives within our SaaS platform. We don't consume a footprint within your production environment. So when a hacker tries to attack your backups, they're incapable. They try to attack your virtual environment. We're here at the ready then to support you in orchestrated recovery. And that's when and if you need us. So how do we give you this orchestrated recovery? Now, orchestrated means orderly. So obviously we need to bring things back online in an orderly time fashion, right? So how we do that is via something that we call an application blueprint, or blueprint for short. So think of it as really a comprehensive run book. And that is where you're going to go in as an operations team. You're going to tell us these VMs are representative of a particular application or business service. It's also where you're going to tell us things such as the boot order, which order do these VMs need to come up online, so the application stack comes online in a production ready state. And what resources would you like us to use at your recovery site? What compute storage and otherwise, what PostScripts do we need to run? What networking changes need to take place? So think of a blueprint as something that you would design and implement during peacetime so that you're ready for wartime. We can allow you then to have an easy button to bring your applications back online. All right. Secondly, as I mentioned earlier, possibly one of the most important aspects of the solution is being able to verify your readiness tests. So failovers, can I test my recovery methodology? I'm very happy to say that since the birth of this solution, our Rubrik customers have had this capability to test and verify readiness standing, the entire application stack online, exercising all of the same mechanics of a real recovery event, and being able to interact with the application, but doing so in isolation so that it doesn't negatively impact production. And furthermore, we even include PDF reports that are boilerplated and downloadable on an event by event basis to really ease that administrative burden. So DR testing becomes a lot easier. You're able to produce that readiness report whenever your business asks you to do so. And then lastly, flexibility. It's really about dealer's choice here. So we want to give you the flexibility to leverage what solution you think best meets your needs and your strategy. So in addition to being able to recover locally, being able to do an orchestrated local recovery of your application, which is key for cyber attacks, isolated cyber attacks. We also support the ability to fail over between two physical locations. So you have the ability to fail over from your on-prem to VMware Cloud, whether it be on AWS, Azure, or even Google for that matter. So it's all about flexibility, being able to look into the future of giving you driving cloud economics in your recovery, but also supporting what may be the most important thing to you. So prem to prem or just local recovery. So there is that flexibility there for all of the recovery options. So now let's take all of this and put it into context. I think this is really interesting to explain about how this solution, as well as some of the others that I mentioned within Rubrik Security Cloud at the beginning of our discussion, how does that recover your business faster? So to give you a little bit of insight into what happens when you're a Rubrik customer, we have a team inside Rubrik. It's a specialized team that we call the ransomware response team. So everyone who's a Rubrik customer has access to this team. If you utter the word ransomware, we're just going to start engaging in a series of events behind the scenes to support you. So first, you're going to get a technical person assigned to your ticket. You're going to get a TAM. So additionally, you're going to get ransomware specific support engineers that are supporting your case. You'll get ransomware or specific backend engineers supporting your case, as well as executive visibility on the case to make sure that we're servicing you as best as we possibly can. And from the team's perspective, working in product, they absolutely tell me that they love engaging with this team because they get to learn from people who are on the front lines, helping our clients recover from attacks. So it's a great resource to have. And what I'd like to share with you first is what a macro series of events looks like. So what does an attack look like from our perspective with our clients? What are they experiencing as an event happens? So first and foremost, say our client has gone down hard. Unfortunately, these ransomware attacks, they may not encrypt all of your data, but they're certainly very capable of bringing down your environment. Or they may have detected anomalous activity. Next, once our client knows it's ransomware, they engage their incident management partner. So they can go through a series of checklists to go and identify malware. They can figure out what happened. How can we plug holes? How can we prevent it from happening again? But more importantly, how can we get our business back online? All right, then recovery begins. So this series of events that I've just described to you can take weeks or months. It really is a long and arduous process, unfortunately. But at Rubrik, what we want to do is accelerate this, right? So we want to minimize that time that it can take, and you may have experience with that, as much as we possibly can. And this is where the enterprise suite that we're able to offer customers comes into play. So first and foremost, let's use the tools to understand what has actually been encrypted versus what is down as a consequence of the attack. And that's really key to understanding where you need to focus your data recovery operations versus your scanning activities or ransomware investigation here that can help you with that and quickly understand which workloads have been encrypted. Secondly, we mentioned threat hunting. So how about you take Yara rules and stick them directly into the Rubrik platform, into Security Cloud. Let us scan your backups on your behalf and tell you when we see these IOCs, these indicators of compromise, so that we can automate our way into understanding what is my last known good backup, what is eligible for recovery. And then lastly, of course, bringing your business back online, orchestrating recovery, and that's where this solution comes into play. So let's bring your application stack back online in an orderly fashion, ready, a production state, right? So it's production ready. And we're limiting the amount of folks within your organization that you need to engage in order to bring everything back up and running, bringing your business back up online. So if you think about this in the context of a workflow, it's really end-to-end integrated ransomware recovery. And that's what we're going to continue to bolster over time with this product. So it's a great solution, with the goal being, let's minimize your downtime, let's get you back online as quickly as we can. So people have been finding some great success with this. The customers are absolutely loving it. So with that, now that I've talked this up, I want to actually hand things over to Joe Harlan, who I introduced earlier, and he is one of our technical folks, and he is the go-to-market lead for orchestrated application recovery. And what I think is really interesting is he's going to be able to show you one of our newer capabilities that we've been working on. And we've introduced orchestrated application recovery, and I'm excited for you guys to be able to see what is going on, what's the latest, what is the power of this application that it can actually do for you. So without further ado, here you go, Joe.
All right, folks, let's take a look here at this new feature that we're calling recovery plans. Let me give you a little preface, though, before we dive right in. So in this environment, it's a small demo lab, so I only have a couple of blueprint objects. These are really web stores. They're just little WordPress stacks that actually produce these little clothing sites. Nothing too terribly exciting to look at, although some of those prices are eye-watering. But these are the two applications, essentially, that those two blueprints represent, and that's what we'll be failing over between the two sites. So in fact, here, I'm actually going to be failing these workloads into a vSphere environment that's running in the cloud. This is an Azure VMware Solution software-defined data center. And in fact, we can see the 4 VMs that make up this application pre-staged here using our RTO optimization feature of minimize recovery time. So these are fully formed virtual machines. From a capacity perspective alone, we have taken their memory and their network away as a safety feature, but these VMs are ready for a rapid recovery as quickly as we can make it happen. And so when I move to fail over these workloads, we're going to see those VMs be used in place. Now, rather than failing these two over by simply checking the box and clicking on failover, I'm going to take advantage of the new feature that is recovery plans. Now imagine, if you will, for a moment, a data center with several more blueprints than you see here, with quite a bit more complicated environment. Maybe several core infrastructure services, some ancillary services shared by several of the application environments. This type of environment is not uncommon in most large customers, and the idea of trying to fail over the entirety of a data center may seem daunting, given that breadth of systems and solutions that need to be maintained in the event of a disaster. So what the recovery plan is meant to do is allow me to take a series of blueprints and create a plan for their recovery, such that I can sequence the recovery in the opposite site. In this case, I've created a recovery plan from just my 2 blueprints, pretty modest here, but I'm calling it the Haverford Group Web Store Failover Plan. Let's take a look inside. Here we can see the 2 blueprints that I've added, as well as a boot order. Really, one of the big deal items here as part of recovery plans is that we can tell the system in what order we want this series of blueprints to fail over. Now, I could have more than one blueprint in the pole position in that 0 boot order group and have it fail over first, along with a couple of others, probably where I'd put my core infrastructure services, followed by any applications that really are kind of the key applications in the environment and depend upon those infrastructure services in order to operate. followed by maybe some less important workloads or other workloads that depend upon the ones that were failed over prior. So the idea here is that we can premeditate this plan for recovery that includes the sequence of events that need to occur in order so that everything starts gracefully and is ready for user use. So for now, in order to launch this event, I'm going to go ahead and click on the action button and say recovery, and this will take me to the recovery wizard. Here we can see the 2 blueprints that are part of the plan. I'm automatically offered the latest recovery point in time, but as usual, I could pick a previous point in time if so desired. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stick with this one, and then I'm just going to tell it to abort and clean up, or rather continue with errors, since this is a real failover event, in the event that something goes wrong with configuring the network or running the postscripts that are used to reconnect the front end of the application to the back-end database. Clicking next, I'll be asked for the confirmation phrase of recovery plan. Click confirm, and this job is on its way. Coming back to the failovers that we launched as part of that recovery plan, we can see here that the 2 blueprints that were members of that recovery plan have completed their failover recovery. So now we can come out here to the Azure VMware Solutions site where they failed over 2, and we can pick on the IP addresses for each of the 2 web servers. And we can see that those web stores have been returned to service. And there we have it. Both of our blueprints were successful in failing over, and both of the application stacks have completed their recovery. With orchestrated application recovery, you can recover several applications in a defined sequence as part of a recovery plan. This is really the power of the automation that the recovery plan brings. It doesn't require your operators to understand intimate details about the environment. It allows those details to be captured in a premeditated form so that they can be launched anytime they're needed.
All right. Awesome, Joe. Thanks so much for giving us that demo. And everyone, what I'd like to do now is just let's bring the entire session back into focus with those key 3 areas that we started off with. So what did we say that we set out to do? Well, first of all, do more with your backup. Make your data backups work for you. Make them more valuable. Consolidate, minimize the amount of data pulls and replication systems. So, all of those things that, you may need to maintain and pay for right now. Consolidate operationally the places where your operators need to interact with different solutions too, right? So drive down certification costs. Streamline operations by consolidating the places in which ops teams and infosec teams need to interact, and you can do that with this product. And then lastly here, put yourself in a position to be able to prove your disaster recovery readiness. So do all the work during peacetime so that you're ready for wartime. And orchestrated application recovery is really a key component of enabling you to do this. So with that, I thank you very much for your time today. I hope you found value in it. We look forward to further proving to you that Rubrik has your back if you need to secure your environment holistically against data loss. And in the meantime, we have other resources for you to check out that are in direct relation to orchestrated application recovery, including a technical white paper with all the details, and a blog as well with a deep dive in for the ins and outs of this solution and how it works. All right, so let's do some Q&A. What's the RPO time like on average? Yeah, good question. So with orchestrated application recovery, you're going to be able to make a DR plan, a disaster recovery plan, consisting of multiple blueprints, like we talked about earlier, and with the ability to fail over an entire data center over at the click of a button. So rather than kicking off a bunch of uncoordinated jobs, which can really compromise fast recovery. So we're well within the most stringent requirements for acceptable timeframes for data loss across different VM tiers. And with the integration that we have with Rubrik Continuous Data Protection, we're able to offer near synchronous RPOs. So typically within about 60 seconds. And so we're able to, when we talk to a lot of customers, meet almost all their requirements for acceptable data loss. Now, what's the coverage for different workloads within this solution? Oh, okay. Yeah, good question too. So right now, Rubrik has first focused primarily on prem-to-prem DR for VMs, local ransomware recovery as well, so in-place recovery, and also the need that many customers have been asking for failover to the cloud. So with Azure VMware Solution, AVS, as well as VMC on AWS, VMware Cloud on AWS. So that is what we cover today, and we're having a lot of great success with it. All right, third question. If you're replicating to a secondary site already, how is that best practice leverage? Sure. So I'll explain it like this. If you're a Rubrik customer, you become a Rubrik customer, you'd be backing up your data with us and you're replicating VMs, as you may be doing now. Yes. But the additional value of orchestrated application recovery is the ability to bring your applications back online in the fastest, the most optimal way in the case of a DR event. With orchestrated application recovery, Rubrik can just simply add on a layer of automated orchestration to that practice and to your recovery. And as you saw, you can predefine that boot order. You can leverage scripts and network configurations to reduce the manual work and room for error. To be able to recover in a big way, fast. So you're getting this methodical, this repeatable DR that recognizes dependencies across VMs. It can save you a lot of time for recovery.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here, you two. Always great to have you on. And I know, again, we had a couple questions that came in, or quite a few questions that came in that weren't answered, but the Rubrik team will definitely reach out and make sure that you get the information you're looking for. Speaking of getting the information you're looking for, there's a poll up right now asking what additional information you would like about the Rubrik solution. So do feel free to quickly answer that and just let the team know what you want to see show up after the EcoCast today. Now, handouts tab. So I mentioned this before, but the handouts tab is where you're going to get also an awesome PDF formed white paper. It is the definitive guide to zero trust data security with Rubrik. Check that out. It'll be a perfect way to follow up on the conversation we just had with Kim and Joe. Definitely worth a read. And I always say this, make sure you grab all of the different handouts. You never know when you might want to find it. And especially with the PDFs, they may not be online available and searchable. So this is a great time and place to get it. And with that, I do have a couple more prizes to give away. I've got the second and third and essentially final $300 Amazon gift card to give away. So the second gift card is going out to Paul Gurgian. Hopefully I said that right. Paul Gurgian from California. And the third and final going to Ashley Bradford from Colorado. Again, a huge congratulations to all three of our winners. You do need to be here and live at the EcoCast, so I hope you're hearing my voice now as I recap our three lucky winners: Tauna Chestnut from Idaho, Paul Gurgian from California, and Ashley Bradford from Colorado. As always, we will be in touch about claiming your prize after the webinar, as well as those two best question gift cards where it might be showing up if you asked a great question today. And with that, I'm going to close out this poll. Thank you for being active in there. On behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I do want to thank all of our speakers from Progress and Rubrik for making this EcoCast possible and for being here with us today. And a special thank you to all of you for being active and asking questions and taking a little bit of time out of your day to really think, learn, strategize, and figure out what tools you might want to implement going forward in your organization in regards to supporting, extending, and protecting virtualized and containerized environments. If you are on the webinar today and you would like to chat with us about presenting on a future summit, EcoCast, or MegaCast webinar, we would love to hear from you. Reach out via email at connect@actualtechmedia.com. And if you enjoyed your time today and enjoyed my silky smooth voice. No, I'm just teasing. But I will be hosting tomorrow the megacast Building Your Ransomware Preparedness Plan. It is a stacked house of 10 presenters, so you don't want to miss it. If this is something that pertains to what you need to do in your work, your life, or it's just simply interesting for you, you will have a ton of experts in-house. Tomorrow, same time, we're kicking off 12 p.m. Eastern, Thursday, April 18th. And with that, I think that's all I have for you today. So until tomorrow or until the next time, I wish you an absolutely magical day and take good care.